This is the Love Truth Leadership Podcast. Your hosts, Larry Chatterley and Nick Johnson, welcome you on your journey of self-improvement and connection. Listen as they combine their different experiences of life to help you learn leadership is not just a title, but the profound expression of the love and truth you bring into the world. Hi, I'm Nick.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Welcome to LTL, guys. We're here to discuss cultivating a learning mindset. It's one of those things where I feel like cultivating a learning mindset is something I embody. And I feel like I've done that all my life, but at the same time, I've always reverted back sometimes to what's called a fixed mindset. So what a growth or learning mindset means to me is I'm always willing to challenge my beliefs, challenge what I think about, how I think about it, what I think about myself, and how I think about other people as well. You know, I always try to consider what, other people have going on in their lives and try not to throw judgment. I am in retail, which is really hard to throw judgment at people. I have to stay on top of myself daily and being on top of that. But as far as it goes, cultivating a growth mindset to me is something that to really have personal growth in my life is something that I have to embody. It's something that I have to sit out here and go, okay, what can I learn to absorb into my brain to help me change how I react and how I act as a person and what kind of person I want to be. And if I want to be a leader in this world, how can I do that, and how can I do it efficiently, and how can I hold myself to it?
It's interesting. You just asked yourself a bunch of questions, and I think that's the heart of a growth mindset.
Yeah,
is asking lots of questions.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Questions are powerful because they're, instead of giving answers, you ask questions and you get answers.
Better answers.
Yeah.
I think the more questions you ask yourself, it distills down to better answers. And I find that asking questions from a different angle gives us, or I should say, asking a lot of questions allows us to view the issue at a different angle. And sometimes that angle, you'll get an epiphany. Go, oh, I never saw that before.
So would you say for yourself that having a growth mindset means asking a lot of questions?
Yes, definitely. I think that's one of the foundations of it. And doing that on a regular basis. So if you're getting frustrated with something or you're angry, then you ask yourself, what's causing me to feel this feeling? And how can I view this differently?
As I've stated before, Larry and I sit down and do our coaching session. He kind of helps me through my issues before we record the episode, which, Larry, again, man, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Like, you have no idea. And you helped me incorporate a learning mindset 100%. And I really, really appreciate it. So what else does a learning mindset mean to you, Larry?
Well, it means aligning yourself not only with people that can help you cultivate that. So I think a lot of it has to do with the people that you surround yourself with, developing the culture, at least mentally, to let that flourish. For example, if you're growing plants and stuff, putting them in the closet and not giving it much water is not going to make it flourish. It needs to be out, see sunshine, right?
Yeah.
It needs that. And besides the water, and I'm saying you need to expose your mental to certain types of sunshine.
Yeah.
And that cultivates a better mindset. So the question you ask yourself, who would I align myself with, or what could I read, or what could I do to allow more sunshine into my life, right?
Yeah.
To cultivate a better growth mindset.
Yeah, for sure. So a growth mindset believes that your talents, like your work skills, your communication skills, mental and emotional intelligence, can be increased. Now, we have to note that intelligence has been thought to be a fixed thing where you're born with a certain level of intelligence. Your IQ can only be this high, and that kind of stuff. But research is finding that due to what's called neuroplasticity, the ability for your brain to be rewired, intelligence such as IQ can sometimes be increased. But in other cases, it's limited. And just like Larry said, it's limited by your environment, how we view ourselves, how we view our abilities, the culture that we're brought up in, the home that we're raised in. I would say probably the most important thing, the teachers that we're exposed to, the people who lead us through our life. What's that story that you told me about the...
Oh, yeah. I read this years ago, and I'm assuming it was a true story. At least that's what they said they did. They got a bunch of elementary school. I'm not sure what age they were, but probably around 10-ish in that area. They got around 20 of them together, and they were just normal IQ kids, so to speak.
Average kids. And they put them in a classroom and told the teachers that these 20 or so students had exceptionally high IQ. They were very intelligent, and they need to be aware of that. So these teachers had the belief that they were dealing with it exceptionally. So then they tracked the progress, and a year later, the teachers commented how well these students did. And their IQs all had accelerated significantly during that period. So it's interesting that what they thought of the student and what they projected it, and then the student started feeling that way, right? Yeah.
And started thinking themselves of that way.
The teachers cultivated a growing mindset and then gave the kids a growing mindset as
well. And probably gave a lot of affirmation.
Or a learning mindset, I should say.
A learning mindset to do that. And so even though we may be surrounded in a environment that may not be as conducive, it doesn't mean you can't make the change yourself.
Yeah.
You can do stuff to align yourself to a more growth mindset by the people how you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And how you surround yourself with other people to help cultivate a better mindset.
Yeah. So now we're going to talk about what's called a fixed mindset. And I feel like that's what a lot of people live in, is a fixed mindset. This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is my level of intelligence. These are the talents I have. I mean, that's exactly what a fixed mindset is that you believe these things are hardcore who you are as a person, and that you're only good at this one thing that actually ends up limiting you in aspects. Like, I can only do this because of who I am. I can only do this because I was taught this whenever I was a kid. And having either one or these two beliefs is integral to how you view yourself. You approach life saying, I'm a learner. I can learn to change. I can learn to be a better person. I can learn a new talent. Or if you sit there and say, I can't do this. My family doesn't believe in me in this way. I'm only so good as this. I'm just a whatever you want to say at the end of I'm just a this. It's really integral how we view ourselves. I feel like a growth mindset is going to be one of those things where you believe that you can do anything. And a fixed mindset is like, I can only do some things, right? What do you think about that, Larry? I mean, I know you've probably lived your whole life having pretty much a learning mindset, wouldn't you think? I mean, or a growth mindset.
I think it's helpful. I mean, my father was a physician, and I think he helped foster that. So, for a desire to achieve and to continually do it. And to this day, I think there's still a lot of stuff.
Well, I mean, like in our talk, I learned that you were like an investment guy too. Like, I was just like, man, what hasn't Larry done? And granted, in my life, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm a mechanic, and I know I'm good at that. That's why people call me, what's going on with my car? And it's just like, okay, well, what is it doing? Oh yeah, it's this, without even seeing the car. And I know I'm good at that. That's my innate talent, right? At the same time, I'm learning to believe that I'm a really good communicator. Learning to be like, okay, cool, I can tackle doing a podcast, something that I've always wanted to do, but have never had the growth mindset to sit here and be all like, how can I do this? Incorporating that whole thing, which is awesome.
I think it's unique. You've discovered a talent that you're starting to develop that you've probably never discovered before.
Yeah, and I attribute that 100% to the bike shop. My ability to communicate to people, or through working at the bike shop when I first started. I didn't want to talk to a customer, and then it came to the day where I was left alone, and I'm like, oh shoot, I guess I'm gonna have to, and I guess I'm gonna have to embrace being who I thought I would thought I was an introvert. Come to find out, I am not. I am an extreme extrovert. I'm the guy who goes out front and says, hey, what's up? How's your day going? Blah, blah. What can I get you? Can I talk to you about anything? And next thing you know, I'm educating a customer, which I enjoy the heck out of, is giving people part of my knowledge that I have in the bike industry, which is big. And then I'm like, well, man, actually, I am a good communicator. I may be filled with a bunch of ums and uhs whenever I'm doing it, but I'm still doing it fairly well, right? And so it's one of those things where I incorporated that growth mindset and learned how to change who I am as a person. And so that's really awesome. We may think that we have a growth mindset, but it's really not easy to attain one. We all have fixed mindset triggers, like when we face challenges, receive criticism, fare poorly compared with others. That'll cause us to become, like insecure, defensive. So how would you stay on top of that though? How would you be like, okay, I'm getting triggered right now, and that's going to put me back into my fixed?
I think that's a good question. One of the things we've talked about in previous podcasts is about gratitude.
Yeah.
I think that if you get into a I don't know, funky attitude or depressed or stuff, possibly rethinking about some of the blessings in your life could get you to get out of that mode, and maybe asking more questions about it and getting out of that. And that would help you get into more growth mindset, because growth mindset is so much more proactive. It's more energizing, and it adds much more value to your life. So asking better questions about yourself, plus and cultivating that gratitude we talked about. I think another thing that's helped me is just going out and finding a way to help someone else.
Yeah.
That turns my attitude about,
One thing that I like to do, especially because working in retail, like I said before, sometimes I start to judge people when they come into the shop. And what gets me out of that is wishing them well. The first thing I say to myself whenever I approach a challenging customer is I wish them wealth, health, gratitude, and happiness in my head. I don't say it out loud, but that's what I say to myself in my head. And instantly I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can handle this person, like let's talk, or how can I get you to open up to me to discuss what you want to do and what your goals are here at the bike shop? How can we cultivate a better relationship? And next thing you know, I'm looking at this person a lot differently. Yeah. And then they leave happy at the bike shop. Sometimes that's hard for me to stay on top of. Right now, like we discussed, I'm going through all this hardcore change. That's just like, man, like everybody.
It's tough sometimes.
Yeah, just get out of my way and let me change.
Well, you mentioned a while back on another podcast how you text someone a positive message. I think paying it forward by just, if you come to mind something you appreciate about a person or something they did that day, and just sending them a little text message and say, Nick, I want to tell you how much I appreciate the other day when I went to the bike shop.
Yeah.
Boy, that really helped me out with that situation, or whatever it may be, or a family member, maybe they did something positive, or when's the last time you said thank you to your parents for something, I think that would help cultivate a better gratitude and get you through that situation.
Yeah. So some ways that you can tell if that you're in a growth mindset, because we can go back and forth from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset,
right,
and it can happen quite regularly. So some ways that you can tell that you're in a growth mindset is if you like to share information, if you like to collaborate, if you like to innovate, or seek feedback in your life or work. The biggest one is going to be if you can admit errors in your life that you've made, or if you can be like, okay, that was a mistake I made, and openly admit it, then you're approaching it with, okay, I did this wrong, and I can see that I did it wrong. So let me learn how to do it right. You know,
Yeah, the question is, what can I learn from this?
exactly. So what else am I missing here, Larry, on just defining growth or learning mindsets?
Well, I think a person discovering more meaning and purpose in their life, we've talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
I think that helps create a more open mindset, because that's kind of the fuel that perpetuates you, to ask better questions about how you can get more meaning and purpose. And that includes finding stuff that you're passionate about.
I actually found myself thinking about this while we were talking, and it goes back to the point of your environment, right? When you want to find meaning and purpose in your life, and then you start to challenge your identity, and you're challenging who you're hanging out with, you're immediately challenging your environment. You immediately start looking at who you're surrounded by, and that's starting you to cultivate a learning mindset or a growth mindset. It's how can I achieve personal growth? And then, okay, let me look at what my environment looks like. Do my parents do things that I agree with? No, they don't. I still love my parents, but let's learn how to not do what they do. Do my friends do things that I agree with? Then that's where, it gets hard, because I'm going through this right now. Let's learn how to be a different person. And then next thing you know, you're growing, and you feel like you're on this path that maybe your friends or your family don't understand. And that's where you get lonely. And that's where I'm at right now with this whole process, is being lonely, because I'm moving into something new that people don't understand. And at the same time, I'm a little hesitant to share with them completely, because I'm afraid of losing them as friends and well, not my family per se. They support me 100%, but mostly my friends. And it's like, look, I got this growth mindset going on. I just want to drag them along with me, like grab them by their collars and like, let's go, like you guys are going to grow with me too. And so you'll find me sitting here hanging out with my friends, just talking about all this stuff. And they're like, I just wish Nick would shut up, or whatever. Right. And then I'm just like, next thing you know, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to be friendless for a while. So that's okay, I guess. The tough one for me is learning to not be attracted to the people that I was before. That's the tough one for me, because those people are fun. And granted, I could probably have fun with people who are in the same outlook on life that I'm in, but at the same time, it's just like, man, that's who I'm going to miss that part of my life a lot, I feel like. And then that starts getting me into reverting back into my fixed mindset, where I'm like, okay, this is who I am. And then I sit there and like, no, dude, this is not who you are. You're developing yourself into somebody that's better, and you got something to say, Larry, go ahead.
Well, it reminded me, I think I sent you a quote a few weeks ago. It says, what inhibits your progress in life is not what you think you are, but who you are not.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that the fixed mindset is thinking of who you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that might be a good thing then, having a little bit of fixed mindset in that, right? Like, I am not this person anymore. I am this person, which incorporates a growth mindset.
Right.
So they can be balanced.
Yeah. Maybe they're good. Maybe that's a good thing to look at. Maybe there needs to be a proper balance on that to help have a healthy,
Yeah. Shoot, this goes back to this book, and you haven't read it yet, I don't think, but it's called Unfuck Yourself. And it's I know the title's a little rash, but at the same time, the number one thing that I picked up from it is I am not my thoughts, I am my actions. But the number two is the question of, am I willing? That's one of the statements that book gives you to live by. Am I willing to keep living in this cycle, or am I not willing to do this? Am I willing to wake up every morning, early? Am I willing to change my life for the better? Those kinds of questions. And that is a very powerful statement, because are you willing to do something incorporates a growth mindset again. Because if you're willing to change, how can I learn to change? If you're not willing to accept who you are as a person, what are you willing to do to change who you are as a person?
That's a good segue into maybe getting an action partner. We talked about that because we're both action partners to each other.
Yeah.
I think in order for people to perpetuate a better growth mindset is get someone to help hold you accountable, but someone you look up to and you feel that would help you progress.
Yeah.
And that could be outside your circle of influence or outside your circle of friends, possibly.
Yeah.
And getting someone that you say, hey, would you be my action partner? I remember years ago back in the 80s before there were even the word life coach. Now we have tons of life coaches out there.
Oh, yeah.
I went to a friend, and maybe we talked about this in the podcast. I wanted to make some change, but I wasn't sure, but I did know this. If I was accountable to someone, maybe I could make the change. So I wrote him a check. At the time, I thought it was a pretty good sized check, but today's standards maybe not. And I said, if I don't fax my report, back then we didn't have internet. And I said, I'll fax you what I did for the week. And I didn't do 100%. I said, I'm going to try to achieve 50, 60, 70 gradually. But the whole idea was being accountable. I said, if I don't get that fax into you by Monday morning, you get to deposit that check the next day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know what? I followed through.
Heck yeah. I mean, if you got the loss of money hanging over your head.
Yeah. So that got me accountable. So get with a person and give them a large check or whatever and say, hey, if I don't follow through, you're authorized to. And I'll tell you, I guess it was more than just the money. Maybe my ego, my commitment.
Or, maybe find somebody that you greatly value. You don't want to lose. They don't want
to use that relationship. Say, hey, I need you to help me. And you know what's interesting, Nick? Most people, if you ask for their help, they'll give it. Say, if I went to you, Nick, and I said, I need your help. Would you help me out? I want to be accountable to you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to text you every day. And most people would say, yeah. Sure. What can I do to help you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. That's no joke. So I feel like we still have a whole lot more to talk about with this subject, like the ways to really implement a learning mindset and how it'll benefit personal growth. I think from there, we're going to close out for today because we're going to just talk forever and ever on this subject. Next episode, we're going to talk about implementing a learning mindset and how it benefits personal growth. So I'm Nick.
I'm Larry.
And this is LTL. Thank you for listening.
Have a grateful day.
Love that. Thank you for joining us on episode 7, Embracing Growth, the Power of a Learning Mindset of the Love Truth Leadership podcast. Larry and I are deeply grateful for your engagement in today's discussion about the enriching benefits and profound meaning of a learning and growth mindset. This mindset transcends mere knowledge acquisition. It's a pathway to resilience, self-discovery, and unlocking new potentials. We encourage you to reflect on how you can integrate this mindset into your everyday life, enhancing both your personal and professional development. We value your participation and are keen to hear how a learning mindset has impacted your life. Please share your experiences with us at lovetruthleadership.podcast@gmail.com. Join us for episode 7.5, where we will delve deeper into cultivating and nurturing a learning mindset. Thank you for being part of the Love Truth Leadership podcast. Continue embracing your journey of learning, growing, and leading with love and truth.